Hey guys, I hope you're doing really well. I'm a Lure Cosplay, and in today's video, we're taking apart my vampire deck. Let's go! My vampire deck is the second deck I ever built. I was very proud of myself, and I only did it because we had a whole bunch of vampires laying around. Since this is a life gain vampire deck, I decided to go with Vito, Torn of the Dusk Rose. Basically, his ability says that whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life, so the name of the game is to keep gaining life. And he has a paid ability for 5 creatures you control gain lifelink until the end of turn. So if you have an army, you can just make them all lifelink and send them at somebody, which will gain you life, and that opponent will lose that much life on top. This is the only planeswalker my vampire deck has. He's not even a vampire, but that's okay. I really like his final ability, and that's why he's in there. Target opponent gets an emblem with. Whenever a player draws a card, you lose 2 life. Basically, if you get him to alt and give the emblem to somebody, by the time it goes around on a table of 4 people, that player could have lost 6 to 10 health easily. Since this is a mono black deck, I have 34 swamps in here. This is not an enchantment heavy deck, however here's the ones that I have. This is my favorite one. It basically makes an opponent discard a card, sacrifice a creature, and it gets a creature or a planeswalker from the graveyard to the battlefield under your control. I have a couple that give me lifelink, and a couple that make opponents lose life and gain me life. This one I have black creatures gate +1/+1, that just helps up my army a little bit. Now let's talk artifacts. Soul Ring is obviously a staple, every deck should have that. Demon's Horn, I really like that one. Whenever a player plays a black spell, that means any player, you may gain 1 life. If Veto is out, you can keep pinging people with the more black creatures and spells you play. I have a couple of artifacts that give me lifelink or unblockable, vigilance, all those goodies, just to keep Veto from being targeted. Usually that's why I put them in. Grimoire of the Dead, I really like that one. It basically puts study counters on it, remove 3 of them, and then you can sacrifice this, put all creature cards from all graveyards onto the battlefield under your control. That will make you a nice little army. Wedding Invitation, I really like this one as well, specifically for vampires. When it enters the battlefield, it draws you a card. Also, it makes target creature unblockable, and if it's a vampire, it gives you lifelink, which means that in your vampire deck, in conjunction with Veto, that's amazing. And of course, Ether Flux, the only reason why I put this one in here, it's because it's a life gain deck. This is probably the only win condition that I have in here. Now let's talk instants. I definitely found a weakness in this deck because everything costs so little. That means that I am casting a lot of spells. That means that I need some card draw, and this deck definitely lacks in card draw. This is pretty good though. Target opponent loses 1 life for each attacking creature you control. You gain that much life. Obviously, get yourself some mana right here. Exile target creature or planeswalker, you gain 2 life. This is actually a card I used to have with my old vampire deck. Next one, target opponent sacrifices a creature. Again, you gain life equal to that creature's toughness in conjunction with Veto. And also, this is a card I used to have with my old deck. As you can see, it's all about sacrifice with my old deck. It was kind of disgusting. Next one, each player loses 2 life. You draw 2 cards. Card draw, really need it. Split second, this is basically a fog. Target creature gains death touch, draw a card. Really needed that card draw. Target creature gets -1/-1 until the end of turn for each swamp you control. I absolutely love this card. It's amazing. It only costs 1, and if you have lots of swamps out, that's amazing. Target creature gets -3/-3 until the end of turn. You may tap any number of untapped vampire creatures and give them +1/+1. And this, I don't even know why I have it in here. It's just so amazing. I love the art. -11, -11. Like, that's awesome. That's just awesome. Just get rid of those really big creatures. Let's talk sorceries. There's many of them in this deck. The first 3 are returned from graveyard to the battlefield or to my hand. Diabolic Tutor, very important. It's a staple of any black deck. Search your library for a card. It could be any card. It could be instant, sorcery, enchantment. It could be anything that you need to maybe wipe the board, or maybe to protect your creature or make your creature unblockable. Speaking of a board wipe, this is my board wipe. Drain Life is also an amazing sorcery to have in this deck. For each swamp you spend, in addition to the casting cost, Drain Life deals 1 damage to target creature or player, and then you gain 1 life for each that you have dealt. That's amazing with Veto because basically you can double that damage. Corrupt does something similar. Corrupt deals damage equal to the number of swamps you control, and then you gain life equal to the damage that you have dealt that way. Again, with Veto, that will double the damage. In addition to the first enchantment that I showed you, I have a few more cards that make players discard a card. Mind Sludge is my favorite. Target player discards a card for each swamp you control. Again, if you have a large mana base, you can just keep making people discard, and that makes you control the board. And I have a few more sorceries that make people lose life and make me gain life, which with Veto will double. As you can tell so far, this deck really relies on Veto being out. I'll now show you the creatures. This used to be my previous commander. He used to get sniped right away because people knew what it meant to have him out. I still have him in the deck because I absolutely love him. He is disgusting. At the beginning of your upkeep, each player sacrifices a non-vampire creature. In a deck with all vampires, you need not sacrifice anything. So yeah, everybody absolutely hated this card. Alright, let's start with this guy. He's basically just the same as my commander, but he doesn't give everybody else lifelink, and he is not a legendary creature. I have a few random Death Touch, lifelink, flying. I can also give them lifelink with my commander anyways, but you know, it's good to have a few Death Touchers here and there. I have all kinds of guys that do some kind of counters. I have a couple of creatures that return other creatures from the graveyard. A whole bunch of creatures that do lose a life, gain a life, which helps me with Veto. I had to keep at least a few sacrifice creatures because, you know, for old times. And I have a creature that draws me a bunch of cards and a creature that discards people a bunch of cards. To be able to get this guy out and actually ult him, I definitely recommend that you get an army going first, otherwise he will be targeted right away. Here's a great combo that went off for me one time and one time only. I had both of these creatures on the battlefield. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, you may gain 3 life. I wiped the board with my destroy all creatures you don't control and all planeswalkers you don't control. Which means that for every creature that died in a 4-player game, I gained 3 life. With Veto, that returned the 3 damage right back at them. And then I used Grimoire of the Dead, which means that I could put all of the creatures onto the battlefield under my control. That gave me a ton of life, so I could Ether Flux someone to death and still be alive to tell the story. And here are all the cards I'm probably going to keep or sell. I could probably use a lot of those in a different deck, like the artifacts, but some of them are vampire specific and I'm probably going to sell those. This one I'm gonna keep just out of nostalgia. But thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe for more random content from me, and don't forget to click the notification button so you can know when I upload next. Bye!